generation today. They are self-serving, reality removed, stuck in that bubble, and then they're not doing the right thing. They're doing what they think is going to keep them in power, and it's so upsetting.
Politicians talk a big game about freedom of speech, but if people like you and I and Sal Grover and Pauline Hanson just lost her vilification case against Maureen Faruqi, Jasmine Sussex, it goes on and on. Gillian Spencer, there's a long litany of people that have been dragged before the courts, some that are quite current right now. We don't have freedom of speech in this country. I don't think most Australians realise that, and I think they'd be horrified because it's just assumed that Australia is a free country.
Oh, absolutely. It's not entrenched in our constitution. There aren't laws to protect, particularly Conservatives in this space. And, it really made me think. I've been to a number of Conservative-run conferences in the last 12 months, and there's some great voices and people who speak there, and I'm not going to name names at this point, but I have this real impression that it's like they're all the generals sitting around the strategy table, smoking their cigars, drinking their whiskey, saying we really need soldiers who'll stand up for free speech. And here's you and I, Lyle, and Sal and Jasmine and everyone else in the trenches, shedding our own blood, sweating our guts out, saying we are in the trenches, come and help us, and they just ignore us.
Yeah, I know today as I was just preparing for this interview and thinking about it, I must admit I feel a deep sense of anger, and I hope it's a righteous anger. I don't want to be bitter and twisted, but I think it's time for Australians to start to get a bit angry and to demand a bit more of our politicians, because this should not be happening in our country.
I agree. And look, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, but Drew Hutton, the co-founder of the Greens, he's leading the charge in saying we should be angry. We should be angry.
Right.
Why is it left up to Drew Hutton, who's had to leave the party he founded or co-founded on the extreme left, to be standing up for our rights? And no one's willing to stand, none of our leaders are standing with him, and it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well, it's my hope and prayer that anyone listening to this today and watching this will start to get into the fight. You and I have been in the fight for a long time, and some other good people, but not enough of us are. But this needs a mass mobilisation of people demanding that this nonsense ends, that demanding that the state-based sex discrimination laws, anti-vilification laws are amended, or at least that the anti-free speech parts are repealed. I'm not saying do away with all discrimination law, but certainly the anti-free speech parts, the Sex Discrimination Act federally, that must be repealed. So there's work to do, and there's things that people need to begin demanding of their politicians straight away.
Absolutely. And look, raising awareness is by far the biggest challenge that we have, because quite frankly, when Australians do hear about our cases, they are outraged.
Yep.
Every single one of them, right down to, my husband had a car accident. The police were on scene. We were there for 6 hours on the same day that I got.
I was going to ask you about this. This was last Friday. Yeah, so I think I spoke to you and Greg on the phone, and he'd just come from the car accident. So this is very traumatic. You've just had an adverse court decision, and your husband's in a bad car accident.
Well, it happened before. It was all in the midst of it. So the accident happened, but we were still on site cleaning up the mess and facing the consequences. But what was really staggering to me was having a conversation with the police officers that I was telling them, I'm about to get a Supreme Court decision. This is my case. And they're like, what? Really? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, police officers from your station came to my house. What? And then I said, what about the Tickle v. Giggle case? And he went, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
And this is a police, there was actually several police officers on site, and they were all gobsmacked. So if our police don't even understand the issue, if they haven't heard about it, what it shows you is there's not that level of awareness that we need. And so podcasts like this, the work you and I are doing, I just want to say to people, don't underestimate how powerful one share can be.
Yep.
Just share it.
Share it.
And then someone else will share it, and someone else, and we won't have the outrage until we have the awareness. We've got to have the awareness first.
Yeah. It's just a shame it's taken so long. And just so people know, Greg is fine too. He was a little bit hurt, but nothing too serious, thank God for that.
It was a hard day.
Kirralie, we admire your courage. I've been an admirer of yours. Obviously, I support you through Vinery, but we've known each other for a long time, and I feel privileged to know you, and I hope people will have got a greater glimpse into your world and the sacrifices that you and your family are making for this. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. How can people follow your work?
Thanks, Lyle. I just want to say the feeling's very mutual. Binary.org.au. We have a fundraising page. It's just /donate on that.
And that's going to help your legal defence too, which will be ongoing when you lodge yet another appeal.
Yeah, and we've, like you, had to spend, I think we're up around $500,000 now.
Wow.
A lot of legal fees, and just the cost of taking on this fight is quite extraordinary. And I'm so grateful to everybody who has donated and is offering to donate. But again, I think that the sharing our articles, talking about this, every Aussie loves sport. Well, most Aussies love sport. Talk about it. When you talk about sport, say, did you know? And talk about these cases. Share them, like them. And also, don't underestimate how powerful it is to pick up the phone and call your local MP. I don't care if they're the most, extreme left greenie. They still need to hear that you do not agree and that you want common sense restored. You want freedom restored to this country. And if they don't hear from you, they'll pretend that it's not a problem. So it's really important to email and pick up the phone and speak to your MPs.
Binary.org.au. Go and follow Kirralie's work. Follow her on social media. Make a donation. Help fund her legal defence. Kirralie Smith, thanks for being with us on The Lyle Shelton Show.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lyle.